Hello you all, I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Now this video is going to be interesting, not just because of the story, but because this video was filmed a while ago, but I realized that I accidentally deleted the first part. So I'm refilming the first part, then you guys are going to see a different scene, setup, outfit in the second part. But I had to refilm it because I want to make sure I share with you guys the story of the man who put voodoo in his vows. And I go like this because you're going to see. So this story starts off with Ashley and Nari, but before we get into Ashley and Nari, we have to talk about Nari and his granddaddy. Okay, so starting off with Nari and his granddaddy, we just gonna call the granddaddy. And while I tell this story, of course we gotta pack inventory because y'all been showing out with the order, so I have to multitask while I film videos. I'm going to be wrapping and packaging my sage sticks that you can get from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. Don't be like the other girl in the other story. Make sure you get some sage, okay? So Nari's granddaddy, he is like the granddaddy I swear all spiritual people wish they had, because he was heavy into spirituality. So much so, he's also, side note, he's a child of Ogun, and that's why he works with mechanics. Keep that in mind too. So the granddaddy owns a mechanic shop, right? And from the outside looking in, this just looks like your everyday good old mom and pop corner mechanic shop where the mechanic know everybody. But in the back of this shop is a whole botanica, I like to call it, our spiritual workshop. So from the front, it just looks like your everyday mechanic shop, nothing too special. But behind that shop, attached to that building, was a spiritual shop, a botanica, where he done all his spell work. And he kept it separate. Not even the employees knew what was back there, just because of how controlled he had it. He had it so controlled to the point where he made sure he answered all the phones. So some people would actually be calling for like, hey, I need my engine tuned up or whatever, car problems. But he had a code for the people who knew that he did spiritual work. So people would call and be like, hey, I'm in a blue Honda on all flats. So to the average person listening, you would think, okay, so someone with a blue Honda is coming in and they have 4 flat tires, right? But he knew that was code for like, hey, I'm coming in for spiritual work. So he would write down on his little paper inventory appointment sheet, blue Honda, all flats. So when someone even from the outside seeing it, it's like, okay, he's just writing down the type of car that's coming in, the time, and what service they need. But he knew around that time, let's just say he put 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, he needs to be in the back of the shop and look for a blue Honda because they're coming in for spiritual work. So he had it to the point so precise that he told his employees he will handle all tire work. Blown out tires, tires that need a plug, tires that need tiring, all types of tires. He handled it just so any type of tire work that comes in, it won't get mixed up where someone's talking to an actual employee when they like, hey, where the owner at, because I need him to fix my tire, just to avoid that awkward stage, right? So he handled all tire work, and he made sure he kept the employees he had, made sure they were paid well so the secret wouldn't get out too much. So Nari, of course, is aware of his father's spiritual gift. He's aware that he has a spiritual shop in the back. But you know, in these days and times, people are like, you need to be on social media. You need to amp this up, granddaddy. This so old school. You need a website. You need an Instagram page. And the granddaddy like, no, I like to keep it with whoever knows just knows. This is good. So Nari is like, well, let me do something for you where it's still secret, but you can boost your clientele. Because the granddaddy was living good. His mechanic shop got good service. His spiritual shop got good service. But his grandson was like, granddaddy, let me just help you out just a little bit. And he wanted to get into spiritual work too. So he's like, listen, if it get overwhelming, I can help you out too. So Nari really wanted to help. So his granddad was like, go ahead, do what you got to do, but I'm not getting on that internet. So Nari was contemplating, how can I help out my granddad to get more clients without putting it all over the internet? So Halloween was right around the corner. So he was like, we should have a little Halloween party with all of his clients, and they just bring a +1. So of course that person is going to bring someone who's into the spiritual world or has some type of interest in it, but won't go shouting it out to the world to try to get the shop closed down. He knew that he wanted to invite people there, but people that wouldn't spread it all over town, because in Alabama he was like, listen, we don't need nobody knowing what we got going on back here, because this is a Christian state, so we need to keep this a secret. So Nyree knew that all of the clients on his dad's appointment sheet that said all flats was a spiritual client. So he dug through for like the past year, calling everyone like, hey, on Halloween night we're gonna have a tour of my dad's spiritual shop, bring one friend, right? So he went through the whole entire list. He told everybody to bring a friend, bring a friend, bring a friend, because he was planning this big old Halloween party. So he told his granddad, all you gotta do is just make sure that you give him a nice tour, tell him your service, show him some of the work you did, and we're good to go. And this is a good idea, because if you guys see the shop, it's like the front look all oily, mechanic-y, metals, cars up on the little car jack thing, but in the back it just looks like this beautiful emporium with it just looks like the most beautiful African-y, like I don't even know how to describe it. It's very almost something like this, you know, but times 10. So his granddad is a little bit nervous, but he's kind of just trusting Nyree with the process, because he knows once he passes away, this is going to be Nyree's shop and he's going to take care of it, because he has a spiritual gift as well. So now it's Halloween night. It's time for the party. Nyree has his friend checking everyone in, and it's getting packed. All of his old clients are visiting him, people he haven't seen in months. It's like a whole little shindig. How you been? Da, 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 da. I'm not going to share his name in this story because I just can't, but it's a good little shindig. He's seeing everyone that he's helped out. He's getting follow-ups on the work he did, blah 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 blah. So now it's time to start the tour. Now I have to give you a little reminder for this story as well. No one used their real names at check-in, because Nyree kept up the same method that his granddad does, where he says, hey, what car are you driving? So literally on the list you just see a whole bunch of cars. So if they did get in trouble for it, I don't know why they would get in trouble, because that's literally his shop. He could do whatever he wants in his shop. So if you looked at the list, it just literally shows a whole bunch of cars. Red Toyota, blue Honda, green Chevy. So that's how people checked in. So when they ask for their name for check-in, it'll say Gold Camry, and he'll check in the Gold Camry, the +1, go ahead, go in. So now it's time for the tour. So granddaddy, he up there, he giving the tour, giving like, hey, over here is where I do my readings, over here is where I do my cleansing. He's giving the whole tour, letting know the service he provides. Some people that are there like, yeah, he helped me with this and that, giving testimony. So the +1s are kind of learning more about the spiritual world. The people who had services from him before are learning about the service he did from other people. It's a nice shindig. It's a very good idea. So Nyree did good with that. So his granddaddy giving a tour. It's raining, y'all, if y'all hear extra noise. But so the granddaddy is giving a tour to everybody. Everyone's enjoying it, everyone's loving it. So Nyree's following along with the crowd. It's a whole bunch of people, but he sees this beautiful young lady in the group. So of course during the tour, while they're walking to the next area, he pulls her aside like, hey, I noticed you're in the back. I could give you a separate tour. This is my granddad, so I kind of know everything here if you want me to. So the young lady, Ashley, she's like, of course, let me get my friend. So she calls her friend over, because Ashley is the +1. And so Nyree's giving them a separate tour, showing them different corners in there, different boxes of stuff. Like he's just giving them like an exclusive little tour, because he thought Ashley was so fine. He was like, listen, I gotta talk to her. Whatever she want to see, I'm gonna show her. So while Nyree's giving the tour, they get to the love wall. I call it the love wall. And this is where the granddaddy documents all of the love spells that he has ever done. For every love spell he has done, he gets a penny with the year on it. So let's just say he did a love spell today, he would get a 2022 penny and put it on the wall, because in his head he had a certain number of love spells that he will allow himself to do. So he just tracks it with a penny, and every so often he'll light a candle in front of that wall just to like refresh the spells for everyone. And that was his way of just having like a little tag, a token for it, like a representation. So when he burns the candle, the energy knows exactly where to go. Each penny represented a couple. So Of course, Ashley was like, what's all these pennies? So Nari explained, oh, when my granddaddy does his love spells, he tags each one with a penny. So every so often he'll light a candle for them just to keep the spell going. So they were like, oh my gosh, he does love spells. That's so cool. We never seen anything like this before, because they were new to the spiritual, not really new, but new to like spells. They knew about spirituality, manifestation, meditation, but actual hardcore spells they were new to. So they go over to the tarot table, and this is where the granddaddy did his palm sand reading. Like, he had this skill where he had a bowl of sand. He would have the person he's reading press their hand into the sand, and he would look at the bowl and just read them by looking at their handprint. Of course, they were like, so what's this bowl of sand for? Does he make it like swirl up and go into the air? And Nari explains, no, he does readings for people here with the sand. So they were like, how does he do that through sand? Isn't he supposed to use cards? So Nari, now he was smooth for this. I'm like, all right, Mac Daddy. He tells Ashley, he was like, well, put your hand in the sand, I'll show you how. So Ashley takes her hand, she puts it in the sand. So Nari is so smooth for this next part. He does this. I'm gonna use this as an example. He grabs the bowl and he's like, I see you going on a dinner date with a tall, dark-skinned, dread-headed man next Saturday. So of course Ashley knew that he was talking about himself. So Ashley was like, I think you need more practice. And so they both just laugh it off and move on. But I'm like, all right, Nari, I see you with the whole here, you know, shoot your shot, go for it. And so they end up going back with the group, finishing off the tour with the granddaddy, everyone socializing. The granddad is introducing Nari to all of his people, like, hey, when I'm long gone, this gonna be your new priest right here. So he's just, you know, introducing everybody to him. Everybody starts slowly leaving, and so does Ashley and her friend. Nari didn't get her number, didn't get her email, didn't get her Instagram, her Twitter, her TikTok, her MySpace. No contact with her. He didn't have any type of information how to get in touch with her. Now, I'm saying her name is Ashley, but he doesn't even know her name is Ashley. Like I told you guys before, no one used their real name at check-in. So when he looked through the list, all he saw was a whole bunch of Hondas, Fords, Chevys, and just the name of the cars and the color and the phone number. His friend didn't remember what car they came in or who was the person that she came with. He didn't remember anything. So all Nari had was her handprint. And with Nari being the future spiritualist that he is, he knew exactly how to bring her back to get in contact with her. Nari goes over to the bowl of sand and see that her handprint is still there untouched. So he looks through his dad's shelves. He grabs a come to me candle. He cleanses it off with Florida water that you can get from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. He burns the candle next to the bowl with her sandprint in it. This is the petition that he says. I want to read it because I want y'all to know exactly what he said. Don't use it. I just want to be precise. He says, your eyes speak to me. Your beauty hypnotizes me. Your soul comforts me. And I love you just because of that. I love you just because. And that's what he spoke to the candle every single day for the next 6 days. And I say 6 days because on the 7th day, guess who he bumps into at the market? Ashley. So she noticed him first. So they're like both vegan. So to me, I'm like, vegans be bumping into each other. Like, y'all be in the same market, you know? But anywho, so she's like, Nari? And he turns around. This boy damn near did a cartwheel. He was so excited to see her. He's like, oh my gosh, thank you, universe. Da, 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 da. So she was like, oh my gosh, I was hoping that I would see you again. We never exchanged numbers. I kind of got caught up in like the whole shuffle, and we just ended up leaving because we couldn't find you. And so Nari was like, oh, I was hoping I would bump into you again. I'm so happy to see you. So they literally talked in the market for like an hour, and then they exchanged numbers. I'm like, y'all should have did that first things first, because y'all like to get lost in the shuffle. But so basically they exchanged numbers. Fast forwarding, they end up dating for like 2 years. He proposes to her. They end up start planning a wedding, blah blah blah. They're so excited. It's really a cute, see, I'm kind of like, because it's a cute story. He really did like her, she liked him, but I'm like, you didn't have to burn a candle for her. But then again, it's like, well, you really just wanted to see her, so I get why you did it. But this is where it gets a little iffy. So they're planning the wedding, right? So everything is all fine and dandy. It's literally like regular. Like there's no spiritual scary stuff that goes on. It's like a regular old happy old relationship. The proposal was cute. He did it right in front of where they met. All that good stuff, right? He didn't do no more spells since that moment. At this moment, for that, he thanked the universe. He was like, oh my gosh, he gave an offering. Whatever he did, what he had to do, close that out. So right around the time of the wedding, he starts to get nervous because he's thinking like, if I would have never burnt that candle, would I have met you again? Would you have still been my fiance? Is it meant to be, or am I forcing it to be? Did I start this? Is this in the power of my hands because I did this? What if it wasn't meant for me to marry you? What if it wasn't meant for me like to see you again? So he started to feel guilty about the spell that he did. So he was like, well, my dad always burns a candle right in front of the wall of pennies to make sure that all the love spells he did continues to go strong. So do I need to burn another candle just to keep this going? I mean, I have to finish what I started. Should I just tell her that I burnt the candle for her? Then maybe she'll think it's cute, or maybe she'll think I'm doing voodoo on her because she doesn't know that much about spirituality. So he's just questioning it. So what would y'all do? Would y'all just say, hey, you want to know a funny story? Back then when I met you at that mechanic shop, I burnt the candle for you because I didn't know if I was going to see you again? Or would you just kind of finish what you started? I would just told them, like, you know something funny? But he didn't. He was like, I have to finish what I started because, I mean, I kind of did this. What if it was meant for me to marry a Michelle? Like, I don't know. So this is what he does. He knows the power of a wedding ceremony. He knows that, and oh, y'all, I have a story on this too. I have to remember that. I have to write that down. He knows the power of a wedding ceremony, and I have to do a video on this, on like the spiritual significance of vows, a wedding ceremony, and all that stuff. So he knows the power of it. So he's like, to seal this chapter and to really close out what I'm doing, I have to make sure my vows, you know, I have to make sure they hit. So fast forward, it's the day of the wedding, right? So she looking cute, he looking handsome, the flower girl looking adorable. It's a really beautiful wedding, right? So behind the scenes, Nari burns a love candle just for safety of the marriage. He's like, you know what, we're about to have the ceremony. Let me burn a love candle. Let me just get this rolling. So he tells Ashley that he's burning a love candle because, you know, you can't see the bride before the wedding. So he's texting her like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. And he's like, I brought a love candle just for our love to continue to be strong, blah, blah, blah. So Ashley thinks that's cute, like, oh, you're bringing your spiritual side into our wedding, thank you so much. Because Ashley's family is Christian, so she wanted Nari to know that she accepts his spiritualist and she's trying to get into it too. So she's like, I accept your spiritual side, trust me, blah blah blah, it's okay. So she thought it was cute that he was burning a love candle on the day of their wedding. He's like, I'm gonna keep this glass forever, blah blah blah. And I'm like, why are you telling her all that? You could have told her that you burnt a candle for y'all to meet. But anywho, so he burns the love candle, but he didn't write a petition for that candle for a very specific reason. He was going to say his petition verbally, but not to the candle, but to Ashley. It's wedding time, like the ceremony time. Nari's father is a priest, so he is like the ordained person to marry them. Y'all, I don't know what in vocabulary, I've never been married, but so he's the person that actually marries them, so that's nice too, right? And so Ashley does her vows, and then she's all crying, I'm so happy I met you, I know things don't happen just by chance, it was meant for us to be together, I never knew I could love someone so much, you just complete me, blah blah blah, all that cute stuff, right? So now it's time for Nari to share his vows, and Nari says, Ashley, your eyes speak to me, your beauty hypnotizes me, and your soul comforts me. I love you just because of that, and I love you just because you're you. This man took the petition he used to bring her back to him to lock in the marriage. And you guys, once you burn a petition, that petition is activated. Those words are crafting. It's craft. It's a ritual. It has power. So the fact that he used that petition in a ceremony that's already tying souls together and bringing people together and all that stuff, it's like, sir, did you really just say the spell right in front of her face? Like, you bold, Nari. And then some of you may be thinking, well, maybe he just did that to kind of let the universe know it's safe and he's not hiding it. No, with that love candle burning in the back and him saying that same petition he used to bring her back to come to me, It's like you just locking it in at this point. You just acknowledge that you put a spell for the relationship and you're keeping it going. And I get how it's kind of like, well, I get the iffiness, because it's like he did have good intentions behind it. He's not trying to trap her. He treats her very well to this day. We'll get to that point later on in the story. But it's kind of like, you couldn't just recall people on the list to see who Ashley was. Then again, I get you have this spiritual gift, so you might as well use your spiritual side. But I don't believe in that you should do spiritual stuff to solve regular human problems. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Do y'all feel like that was fair? Do you feel like that's iffy, a little sneaky? I just think it's a little sneaky. Like, you could have told her, like, yo, I burnt this candle for you, and I wrote this petition because I really wanted to run it to you again. Knowing how Ashley is, she would have been like, oh my God, you want to be that bad? That's cute. She doesn't have like a negative viewpoint or a suspicion. She would have accepted it, because she's very accepting of everything he's been through, all of his stuff. She's very, very open and accepting. So it's like, you didn't have to do that. But anywho, so they get married, blah, blah, blah. They buy a house, or fast forward, and had a baby. A whole shindig, right? Just to give you guys some more background, Nyree did those same steps that his father does, even sealing the spell with a penny. So we fast forward to them having a house, having a baby, blah blah blah. So Ashley's just doing some spring cleaning around the house, and then she goes to Nyree's side of the bed and she finds a penny. Now Nyree's in the bathroom, so she was like, oh, I found a penny. Like, Ashley, she one of them little quirky, happy, bubbly people. She's like, oh, I found a penny. So immediately Nyree is like, oh, ish, because he keeps the penny on the side of his bed, right underneath his side. And so he runs in there, and she's reaching down for it. Then she stops. She's like, oh no, it's on tails. That's bad luck. And she doesn't touch the penny, because y'all, if she would have touched the penny, different story. Nyree comes out and he looks at the penny and he sees that's the penny that he used to seal the spell. He just keeps it under the little mattress part of his side of the bed, but it must have popped out when she was changing the sheets, which I'm like, you must have been doing all the sheet changing, because how did she find it that time if it was always under your bed? So I'm thinking Nyree must have always been the one to change the sheets. But anywho, that's besides the point. I just looked into stuff and like, how that happened? And so she's reaching down for the penny, but she doesn't pick it up because she's like, oh, it's on tails. So Nyree looks down at the penny and he realizes that's the penny that they use. And Nyree picks up the penny and he's like, oh, I'm a penny richer. And he just jokes about it and put the penny in his pocket. And y'all, to this day, Ashley doesn't know that a candle was burned for her. Now, do I think she would mind? Probably now at this point, since she learned so much about spirituality, and she'll kind of be like, whoa, you did that against my will, free will, that's not right. Maybe back then she would have accepted it more, because she would have been like, oh, good intentions. But now she's probably like, free will. What if it wasn't meant for me to go to the market that day? You changed my life pattern to adjust to your wants, right? Blah blah blah. And so y'all let me know what y'all think. Maybe it was meant for them to be married anyway, and that spell didn't even work because it was unnecessary, because it was already destined for them to be together. But to me, I guess with me being all open and honest, you should tell people stuff and don't do stuff like that. Like, knowing if that was me, I would have just called everybody on the list like, hey, your friend Ashley, all right, bye. Your friend Ashley, all right, bye. I would have did that. But I guess if you have the gift, use it. But it's like, don't go against people's will. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think down below. But y'all, to this day, Ashley is just in heaven. She's a nice kept wife. That's my goals. She's a nice kept wife. He makes all the money. She's just, you know, doop a dollop a daisy. She's good. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this story down below. Like I always say, as above so below, as within so without, as the universe so the soul. Until next time, you guys, I say, baby.